Hey YouTube, this is React City. I'm Johnny.
I'm Rose.
I'm Nikki.
And this is the React Cast. Episode 9 of Season 2.
Ooh.
So, last time, there is no last time, this is a podcast. So, we're going to start off with the fun facts. I noticed something in, we were watching Villain Saga. Kettle pulled out a sword and it had looked like Ulf on it.
Oh, yeah.
And I couldn't really tell what it was. I think I told you a little about it. So, there's something called an Ulfbert sword, which there's only a few of them that were ever found. I pulled up the wiki here. There's only been 170 of them ever found.
Oh.
And they've all got this name on it, Ulfbert. And the swords they're lighter and they're stronger, they're higher quality than the other swords of the time period. And no one really knows exactly where they came from. There's theories on like the Franks made them or whatever, but most of them are found in Northern Europe where the Vikings kind of were. Mm-hmm. So I just find it interesting that Kettle has one, despite the fact that Kettle was a cowardly guy who didn't really do anything great.
Yeah, or so he was. Or what if that's like his dad's?
Maybe.
Possible. He had to have gotten rich somehow. He did something.
Yeah.
And everybody knows it.
Merkel was the great fighter that just shrunk over the years.
Iron Fist Merkel.
Iron Fist Merkel.
I had theorized when we were doing our Discord chat that maybe it was that after Kettle lost the first woman he loved, he went on a rampage, but after that he maybe exaggerated the rumors to make him sound like this Thorgal-like storm moving across the continent, you know. But maybe he did actually, like, he was pretty strong and pretty dangerous at one point.
Mm-hmm. You know, that's something they never came back to. They talked about how the girl he liked was killed by someone who's just like a known troublemaker. Everyone in the area knows to be afraid of this dude. Where was he? Where is he now?
Yeah.
You know, something happened to him.
Well, we know that the neighboring people, because he was supposed to marry the girl he loved, that evil guy, and the neighboring people came and killed him. That's what happened to him.
The neighboring people who had qualms with the guy who was getting married.
Yeah, I mixed it up. Yeah, so another theory that I had on it is perhaps he got the sword from whoever he killed. Like, maybe there was a big name dude, and they got killed through some other means, and he took the credit of how he died. Like, I'm sure it happened in history where you come across some great knight who's just dying of some other wound, and they take his stuff. You know, that's kind of happened at one point.
Yeah.
True.
Can't let it go to waste.
Well, I beat this guy, and I fought a dragon. Move on. So other than that, also there's something I wanted to tell you guys about. Oops, I hit the table. So apparently, I should just put this on the table because it's not even going to show up on the camera. You guys don't see that. So apparently, Ranking of Kings, the special came out, and I remember writing it down, but I forgot about it.
Oh, I should put it on the calendar.
I think I actually did put it on the calendar.
I don't remember.
But it's called Ranking of Kings Secret Treasures or something. It's a collection of episodes. Though at the same time, I'm not entirely sure. I have to look at this on Crunchyroll. But they're on episode 4, and they're talking about just different characters. Like one episode's dealing with the background of Oaken. They go into like where he's coming from, and another one talks about the background of another character. So that's all they've been doing.
Oh, okay, but it's different content. Okay, so it's like a season special that's not really, you know, in the main story. It's just kind of about the world, world building kind of thing. Yeah,
like let's learn more about the king before he became all evilly or something.
That would be cool.
Yeah, I missed Ranking of Kings, but at the same time, I don't remember it being particularly popular. Like, not necessarily on the channel. I don't think it really made a whole lot of waves when it came out in general on YouTube.
I think it did. Like on YouTube, I don't know if people made a whole bunch of videos on it or whatever. I wasn't on that side of YouTube at the time. But I do know that the Crunchyroll, Crunchyroll has this basically People's Choice Awards for like different characters, like what anime wins what, and Boji won Best Boy among a bunch of other popular characters. So I do know that people did love the show.
Yeah, I'm just surprised, like, if it did come back, how it wasn't really mentioned. I feel like if we had a stronger following for that show, they would say,
they're probably like, hey guys,
because we had that happen for like every bit of news for ReZero, we get told.
Yeah,
people.
That's true.
Villain Saga, weeks at a time, we were told, you know, stuff like that.
I think it's one of those things where it's like people liked the show and enjoyed the show, but they weren't there to like, oh my gosh, this show is crazy. Like the way the people were about Code Geass. Where the people who liked Code Geass like Code Geass, you know what I mean? And like people follow the voice actors and all of that. I don't know if it was that kind of popular for Ranking of Kings.
I remember enjoying it, feeling like this is a show that it doesn't need a sequel, but it'll always like have a special place in my mind. But I can move on.
Yeah.
You know?
The way they ended it was like that. There were some parts of the end where like, why? But at the same time, it was
12-year-old getting married. What?
That's crazy.
But it still was, it was conclusive, you know, so you didn't feel like you needed more, but you could have more. It's like, you know, you having a slice of cake, don't really have room for more, just a little space. Maybe you could have another slice of cake. But that last slice of cake was pretty satisfying, and you don't have to, but you just kind of want to, you know?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Code Geass.
It's just so weird enough.
Yeah, Code Geass was kind of like that. I feel like the little bit too much was where we started to watch the recap movies. Yeah. And we're just like, I just want to get to the new stuff.
Yeah.
Because the changes in there,
What changes?
The changes like where what's her name?
Shirley
survived. Shirley surviving was the biggest one, right?
That was
we could have just
there was also the cutting out of Mao.
Cutting out of Mao's entire story. I really didn't need to see all of that for that. But at the same time, I did enjoy everything leading up to the recap movies and then everything after the recap movies.
Yeah, I enjoyed the what was it? Was it a movie or was it episode special season?
Was that Keto?
No, I liked Aikido too. I meant the movie. Yeah, it was a movie.
Yeah.
For
the one
the
Resurrection.
Resurrection. There it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed those. I really could have gone my whole life without watching those recaps though. Yeah. To be honest. Yeah. I remember just sitting there waiting and like, why am I here? Why am I here? Yeah. Why am I watching this?
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't really bother me as much, I feel like, because it never really, Code Geass in general, didn't really bother me emotionally that much.
It wasn't
I feel like it bothered you guys a bit more.
It wasn't the emotional aspect, it was the fact that I literally just watched all of this. Because we watched the specials right on the back of finishing season 2.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's not like other people who had like a break before the specials
came out. It was a long break,
out.
too.
Years
break, yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, I'm done.
I just want to put it on the record that yes, I was emotionally scarred by all the episodes and the movies.
I see. Mm-hmm. Good for you.
Mm-hmm.
But I brought up Code Geass to say that I want more. Like it's got a special place.
Oh yeah.
Unlike Ranking of Kings, I want the story of this world to continue and continue and continue.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if I feel that way about Code Geass, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I would say the only reason I would feel like I want more is to get answers for the end scene after the end of Resurrection.
Where?
that was
Lush.
Yeah, Lush and Cece. Not don't say. But there was a scene at the end of the scene after the end of the end. You're like, what the heck?
Yeah, and then the narration about it afterwards is like, what do you mean?
Yeah. There's like, guys, we want to give you more Code Geass. Just want it to, okay? But yeah, because of that's the only thing. But like the way they ended everything previous to that, I was like, nah, let's let the man retire.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's such a problem because this world is so interesting, but the fan base is latched to Lelouch. Everything is latched to Lelouch and Suzaku. It's like Spider-Man, right? The comic, he can never have peace because the story needs to continue.
Yeah.
You know, there's been so many bookends to Spider-Man. There's been so many bookends to Code Geass, but he cannot have peace.
No.
Maybe like a time skip?
That seems like what they're gonna do if they continue it.
Yeah.
That's what I would imagine.
Be a voice change, an older man. Can it be deeper and darker and creepier?
Why?
I'm just like wondering how are they gonna age Lelouch's voice, or will they pull the anime thing where
the same voice?
Same voice.
I mean, like look at Thorfinn in Vinland Saga, same voice, and it throws me off every time he opens his mouth.
I did not notice.
What? What?
I did not notice that it was the same voice.
It doesn't bother me too much.
It doesn't bother me. I guess that's why, because it doesn't bother me.
I don't know. Because every time I look at him, he looks like this battle-hardened guy, and I'm expecting this really deep, gruff voice, and I hear the same 14-year-old that I saw last season, and I'm like, oh, okay, we're here. And then as soon as I hear it, I get over it again.
That's interesting.
Beards do a lot to a face.
Beards, yeah.
I remember one time I cut off all of this. I looked like a kid.
Yes.
I looked at myself and I didn't recognize myself. Like, I looked weird.
Who is this?
I was like, what's going on?
I remember.
Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah, because they didn't allow you to have facial hair.
For some reason, yeah.
Super conservative school. But yeah. So with Thorfinn, I see that and it's just like, okay, it makes sense to me. You know, he's still very young. But there's also a funny case of that where in Naruto there's eventually a time skip. In English, they keep the same voice actor across the time skip, so it's because it's 2 years ahead. But in the Japanese dub, they swapped to an adult, and the guy's voice is like, "Hey guys, let's go around." And then in the English dub, it's like, "Hey guys, nice to see you again." And the contrast between two, I'm telling you, Naruto is one of the biggest contributors to the sub versus dub war. People saw that, and then they saw the other side, and like, you guys are animals. You gotta have some level of consistency between the two.
I suppose.
How did you think about, because there's a couple times in Academic Drive that I've started the wrong dub, and we did the Japanese instead of the English. And you mentioned the Japanese ones sounded a little different than you expected. Like, could you go into detail what it sounded like to you?
Well, I just noticed when we started today's Academic Drive, which is episode 6, the girl, Swindler, sounded like a typical Japanese protagonist female. That's all I noticed. But it was like a different feeling than the one from the English. But I didn't really think about like what kind of feeling that I noticed. Because I feel like the English one is a typical girl protagonist in English, you know, but I think it's just the different worlds because usually like you do kind of want like this innocent sounding voice, which is the English protagonist, and it's kind of a similar idea in Japanese, but what the innocent voice is kind of, I think, a little deeper in English than the Japanese is more it's higher sound, higher pitch.
I wonder how, because I watched the sub, but it was like a year or two ago, so I don't remember what their actual voices were like. But do you think, because you also watched Code Geass in, I think, the dub or the sub? Which one did you?
I watched it in the dub.
And then
we watched sub together.
Sub together.
Yeah. Except Resurrection.
Do you feel like it affected your experience or the way you took characters?
There was someone in particular, it might have been Lelouch, who I vastly preferred. I think I preferred was it the English? No, I don't think it was that. I think it was the reverse. I think I, in general, enjoyed the English dub more for everybody except Lelouch. Like, Lelouch was good, don't get me wrong, he's very good. But in the Japanese version, a lot of the more poetic and, dare I say, cringeworthy lines flow better in Japanese. Whereas in English, it sounds like an angsty 15-year-old. And I think that was the difference between those two. Like, he's still good. It's just sometimes with the flourish and all that, it just becomes a bit too much in English.
He was also Nunnally, who
Nunnally's voice.
He was also an issue.
Yeah. It's very, like, soft to an annoying point. Oh, yeah.
I remember not liking Nunnally's voice in the English, but I don't know if it was the same Nunnally voice because the only English one we heard was Resurrection, you and me. I don't know if it's the same voice actor. Do you know?
I don't. Yeah. I'm really bad with voice actor names.
But yeah, I don't remember why I didn't like it. I just remember I didn't like hers. And maybe it's because I was used to the very whispery version of Nunnally. Not even whispery, just her high pitched plus a whispery sense to it. Yeah. Kind of wistful. Wistfulness. I don't know. I'm just throwing.
What does the word wistful mean?
It's like a hopeful kind of feeling.
Oh, I thought you were going for like frail. It sounded frail and fragile.
It could sound frail too. It just sounded like a little person who you need to protect.
Dependent.
Yeah. I liked the Resurrection Lelouch because I remember we didn't really like the movie versions, but I think the Resurrection one's different because his voice sounded closer. I remember commenting on it. His voice sounded closer to the Japanese version And I was happy because it's like, oh, this is the one I need to actually pay attention.
Did we not watch Resurrection in Japanese dub?
No, it was only in English.
It's only available in English.
Yeah.
I think it legitimately might have been the same voice actor, but he was going for sending a different style when he lost his memory, and he was Julius.
Oh, yeah, that would make sense.
But yeah, so also, so there's a bunch of returning shows. I just saw that they got the opening and ending credits artists all lined up for Jujutsu Kaisen, which is coming back in July. 2 months away. And we've also got Rurouni Kenshin coming back. So we were actually planning on seeing this, but then the other day we saw in Discord that someone mentioned that they had a solid release date. So last time we saw the remake of Trigun, also July.
Oh, it's also in July?
Oh,
okay,
fun.
so we're gonna be stacked.
Yeah.
My gosh.
Wow.
Like I was saying, some remakes it feels like a cash grab. It doesn't actually feel like they're trying to adapt the anime, and it just so happens to have been adapted previously. Mm-hmm. It just feels like, hey, remember this thing? Give me money.
Yeah.
Especially in the West. I feel like especially in the West.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of the times, someone will just be like, hey, I have an idea. I want to do this. No, that's not going to work. Okay, how about I take that idea, I apply it to this old IP that we have guaranteed fans, and I rework it in so that it's kind of a remake. You know, I get the feeling that happens a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so also we've got the new game shows that you came up with.
Oh yeah,
on TikTok. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we mentioned it a little bit last podcast. That we were starting some new games, anime, quizzes, things that we're doing, and we're having so much fun doing it. Yeah. So the way we're having it be done is like each of us will come up with the quiz so that the other two aren't in on it. Yeah. And like it won't make any sense if we're like all know all the answers. Mm-hmm. So it's been cool, and I think the one you led is coming out next, according to when this is going up on Patreon, but I don't know what will be next when this will be up on YouTube. But the good thing is, at first we were thinking we weren't going to put it on YouTube because it was over a minute long and it wasn't going to end up in the shorts feed. Mm-hmm. But when I just posted it, I was like, let me just see what happens. It did okay. It did I would say like around Reactcast level, and that's because people on the channel aren't expecting it. So people are like, what is this? But the other thing is I can actually put a thumbnail on it, so that will also help with it getting out there. So
cool.
We'll see. Cool. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It was really fun to do them, especially like the one where we had the names, and then I think we also did the eye color one. Was I in that? Oh yeah,
the guess the character from their eyes. Yeah, you demolished me. Yes.
No, I think you won the eye one.
Have a good idea for the next one that I'm gonna have for you guys. I think I was mentioning this just before we started recording. I was making a thumbnail for the thing, and I accidentally did this one thing to a picture. I was like, whoa, this is brilliant. It's like, how could I use this?
Accidental genius. My favorite kind of genius.
Yeah, so that one will be fun.
I just got an idea while we were talking. It's basically anime taboo. Like we have a character and we have words that we can't say to get the person to say the character. So we have to describe them.
That's brilliant.
And then the other person has to guess it.
That's a good idea.
So who gets the point? The one describing or the one guessing?
It would go back and forth. So I guess how does taboo work?
So usually how taboo works is you have one person then that leads their team, and then you as the person talking to the team is trying to get anyone in your team to guess it. Mm-hmm. So I guess that makes it hard.
Guessing gets the point, I guess.
I guess so. It's kind of hard to.
Let's just points. Do like maybe it's a together thing where it's like, okay, let's see if we can get 3 points in under a minute or something like that.
Oh, we could do it where we could see if we can get 3 points, but just like and get 3 characters in general. So we'd have to have a time limit of some sort.
That's what I'm saying. Like in this amount of time, we have to guess X amount.
Oh,
of
that's
characters.
What you mean. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a cool idea.
Mm.
Yeah.
I like the visual ones where it's harder for me to for you guys to do it because it's like a whole process to get it on your phone and to get it on the screen. Mm-hmm. But the one I'm gonna do is gonna I think it's gonna be like the first one just with a twist. So the first one I did, which is up, is I showed you guys pictures and you had to guess the character. I'd be the first to guess the character. Mm-hmm. So it's gonna be a similar idea. but with a twist. Like I said, I just don't want to give it away. I want you guys to be
the character
surprised.
from their hand.
Actually, that was one of my ideas. Don't knock it. It's coming. Just after this one.
You know what? For Demon Slayer, you just put the color palette up. Guess what character?
That would be cool, actually.
Yeah, but no. What did you say just before he said that? Because I wanted to comment on it when I was caught out of my head. Moving on.
Oh, guess the hand.
Yes. Yes. I was thinking about that idea to do it with My Hero because we have so many characters, so many like outfit designs and stuff.
Very unique.
Yeah, so I was like, maybe you could try to guess the outfit based on the shoulder pad. Who is this character? There's some that'll be really easy.
One specific thing on their outfit.
Yeah.
Cut it out and then just guess the character.
Who has
Go
this?
ahead.
Yes.
Yeah, so as you can see, kind of excited about that. But, yeah. And also, so you had mentioned before you didn't have any Rose Rants, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I kind of actually had a show that I watched.
Oh, go ahead.
So I watched a show recently that was called Tulsa King. It's a live action show, and it's made by Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah,
So-
I've heard of it.
Yeah, he just made a show out of nowhere.
Tulsa King.
Mm-hmm.
I saw it advertising and I was legitimately interested.
How interested were you?
Interested enough to be like, I might put that on a list and watch it, and also never get to it.
Yeah, I was about to say.
That's typically how my lists go. If I don't immediately watch it, I'm like, I'm never watching this again.
You know, it was one of those shows where it started out very promising. The first 3-4 episodes, very good. Very strong hook, very strong dialogue. The acting was superb. Stallone is just really, really good. He's above everybody else in the show. Mm-hmm. But also, there's some really good buddy cop moments there because it's about Sylvester Stallone, who's essentially a mafia capo. So the second in command, not second in command, he's like a captain of a big organization. Mm-hmm. And he goes to jail for 25 years for a murder that he didn't really want to do, but he basically took the rap so his boss wouldn't go to jail. Mm-hmm. He gets out of jail, and they're like, hey, we really don't have anything for you because it's hard times for the mafia. Despite the fact you did something really good, we really can't reward you with much, so they send him out to Tulsa. So they said, Tulsa, your territory, you can do whatever you want, we'll help you get started, but of course, as usually, pay us back. So he's feeling really dejected, but he goes out there and he does his thing, and he gets set up. And watching him work and try to make those connections and be, a bully, a mafioso, going there, muscle his way in, and then suddenly be protective of the people he just beat the crap out of. He literally just instilling Stockholm Syndrome in these people. But it's really well acted, it's really well done, and you kind of want to see how he handles it and how he grows his business. And unfortunately, halfway through the season, it just starts to steadily decline on how good it was. Like, he shines when he's on screen doing all the speaking. Like, I'm negotiating with this guy and he talks numbers and he's really fast with it. Or he goes in and he starts muscling in this guy. But when other characters start to come in and they start to play their hand and get above him, I feel like it's not necessarily just the acting that's just not on the same level. It's Sylvester Stallone. It's also the plot points sometimes just doesn't make very much sense. So,
but he's the one who wrote it or just directing it?
He's directing it. I don't know if he directly wrote it. So halfway through, there's basically another gang that's in the city, this biker gang, and they start a fight over helium because they started selling helium at parties and started to fight each other. Nitrous, not helium. Oh. Nitrous, sorry.
I was like, oh no, not the balloons at parties. That's what I was thinking.
It was balloons though. Oh. But they filled up the balloons and then you
get high. Oh, okay.
Yeah. His main character, he basically gets involved with some lady that he meets at that bar, and they get together, and then it turns out that she's actually with the FBI and she didn't know who he was. And like she goes into the job the next day, not FBI, the Drug Enforcement Agency, and they're like, hey, so this couple just moved in, the FBI just wants to let us know to keep an eye out for this guy, and he's on the screen, she's just like, oh my god. It's funny, but then she continues meeting up with him. And then eventually she's like, listen, my life could be ruined if anyone figures out that I've been seeing, because apparently she used to be with the FBI, as she was in New York when, I remember that pilot guy landed the plane in the water.
Oh yeah, Sully.
She was in charge of the airspace at the time, and she freaked out thinking it was another terrorist attack. And because she freaked out so hard that they moved her out of the facility because she was like, she just not cut out for this. Yeah. So she's already on thin ice. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So she doesn't want anyone to know, but she keeps meeting up with him. And then she starts telling him stuff like, hey, it's the FBI, they've been asking around, all right? So just be careful, just stay in your lane, stop making so much trouble with this biker gang. It's like, you just leaked info. You're literally corrupt. And she keeps meeting up with him. So it just didn't make much sense in that regard. And yeah,
you're literally like breaking federal security right now.
Yeah. And when the FBI came, they eventually came to just take a look at the situation. And she fights them to leave because she doesn't want them getting close to the situation and learning about their relationship.
Oh my gosh.
So she gets them to leave under her pressure, and everyone's like, why are you being so mean to them? Like,
yeah.
They just want to look around. So now it's going to look even worse. With
yeah.
Connection. Mm-hmm. And then the FBI arrests him because the lady snitched on him. The lady had lost her job because the FBI did find out about a relationship. And so he gave her $1 million in her bank. It's like, listen, just go off, do whatever you want. And then she told FBI bribing a federal officer, so they arrested him. Wow. He was off scot-free because they had nothing on him.
Wow. So just trying to help her.
Yeah.
Wow.
So after they find out is when she snitches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so dumb.
After she already loses her job and has no benefit nor loss from this.
That's so dumb.
She snitches?
Yeah, and what's especially weird is maybe I'm misremembering the scene, so this could be a point in their favor. But I could have sworn she said she lost her job because they found out about the relationship. So if that happened, and then afterwards she gets paid, how is it still bribery from...
If she's not on the job.
If she's left. And also, it's not legally bribery because you have to actually say, I want you to do this,
right,
and I'll give you money for this. Yeah. He legitimately was giving her a gift as, I'm sorry for all this happening to you.
Yeah. So
she wasn't getting bribed for anything.
Maybe they just twisted it that way, or maybe they were trying to say they're just trying to get him any way possible.
I wouldn't be surprised, like FBI, they'll play dirty if they have to. Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case, but like they want to get him in and then try to figure out other stuff. Because the worst thing he's doing is he's just running a dispensary for marijuana at higher than accessible rates. Basically, you're supposed to have a medical license to be able to buy marijuana. Mm-hmm. He started selling it after he muscled in. He literally beat them up, and he started selling on the side, and then started selling nitrous, and then turned out the guy who runs the dispensary, who he beat up, actually also has online crypto stealing scam that he's been doing. So there is a lot of illegal stuff that's going on, but nothing what FBI is looking for.
The most vanilla mafia I've ever heard of is like, we're selling helium. Selling nitrous. We're selling party balloons. Don't let anybody know.
We're selling barely illegal marijuana. And there's literally a farm on Indian territory that he buys it from, like officially, for the dispensary.
You know what? I'm listening to you guys this whole time. Like, all I can think is like they were riding peacefully in the beginning. It's like, oh, this is gonna be great. Sylvester Stallone's gonna love this. And then Sylvester comes out and it's like, we're releasing in a month. Oh my god! And then the rest of the story just goes downhill. And that's all I'm thinking. Like, how can you start out so well and then just degrade so that's dramatically?
That's typically how average stories go.
Like they always start off amazing.
They start off with a really good premise, and then they have no clue what they're doing from there.
Yeah, I got that feeling. Mm-hmm. And people also said that it was rushed, and I get that from the episode count, 9 episodes instead of the standard 12. Mm-hmm. For live action, it could be more loosey-goosey, and they could go all over the place with the numbers. But generally speaking, for season 1 of a show, you go for 12 for live action. Mm-hmm. So, like that biker guy, his whole shtick was that he was a criminal mastermind disguised as just a biker gangster. And he just gets robbed. Like, the guy hacks into his laptop and literally just transfers all his money to them. And he's like, no, I can't believe this has happened. Let's get the boys. And they all just walk into a death trap. It made no sense. It just happened in one episode after like 9 episodes of building up how dangerous this guy was. So
lame.
Yeah.
And then the lady betrayal came out of nowhere. She was still on relatively good terms with him. Like, she was sad losing her job.
Got $1 million.
And then snitches. Why? And she has to know that wasn't actually bribery. She's an FBI agent, unless in the show universe they're trying to change it or something. Mm. But yeah, someone best described it as, this show is trash, and I am eagerly expecting season 2.
The best kind of trash. The kind of trash you want to see more of.
Yeah.
Do you think there's
a dumpster? You can dump it here.
Okay. Yeah. I was just thinking, do you think, or there probably is like a formula? Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's like a formula you can go with to make like an attention-grabbing intro.
Yeah.
But if it's a formula, usually you end up being vanilla after a while. But it doesn't seem like that happens. It's as if, to me, they put all of the money into the intro and then just like say, we got them hooked whatever after that. And I'm not even just talking about shows like that. I'm talking about like animes in general, like all the shows, where surely you went out there to learn, let me see how to make a good story. But it's like you started reading the beginning, it's like, that's brilliant, throws the book away, and then makes an anime. Like, I don't know what to think.
I think writing is one of those things that as it goes on, the harder it gets.
That's
so
true.
Like a lot of amateurs can make a very good intro, but sticking the landing is near impossible for anyone except masters, I feel like.
That's a good point. 'Cause I can think of a couple of times I've started like a brilliant poem. Like, this line is amazing. It's so interesting.
It's beautiful.
And then I like halfway through, I'm like, I don't know how to end this.
And that's why it takes months, years to write stuff sometimes.
Yeah. That's interesting. That's a good point.
Like, what's her name? The not George R. R.
J.K. Rowling.
J.K. Rowling. Yeah, she used to talk about, I saw an interview with, what's his name? The horror guy, Stephen King? Stephen King? Yeah, Stephen King was talking about how they were at a party for writers that the studio threw. And while they were there, they started talking, and off in the corner, they could see J.K. Rowling was, like, arguing with somebody. Then she came over, and she was like, they're pressuring me to finish the book. And, like, I'm only, like, 3/4 of the way through this book. And it's like, I don't think they understand what we do. And it's like, I don't think we understand what we do. It's because they write when it hits them. Of, like, I know exactly what needs to happen on this page.
Yeah.
Like, there's some people who, they sit down every day, and they're like, for an hour, I'm going to be writing. And that's even better than, today I'm writing 2 pages.
Yeah.
But if you sit down to write 2 pages, it's going to be average.
Yeah.
Because your end goal
aiming
is
for
just
a number.
2 pages.
Yeah.
Whereas there's something to be said for focusing on, for this hour, I'm trying to write, and like brain power. But maybe you'll get 5 pages, or maybe you'll get a paragraph, you know? So I think that's what the higher level people do. They just wait till it hits them. George R. R. Martin, it takes a while to hit that man. Man.
He's
the one who makes
I know.
Yeah.
Was it? It starts with a G.
Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just made me think of Taylor Swift whenever you talk about him.
Oh, she takes a... Wait, what?
Oh, the parody.
The parody, yeah. I was like, do you guys not remember?
There was a parody
of your name. It was made off that song.
Yeah.
I got blank pages, baby, and I'll write your name.
Yeah.
But it was with
I
him.
vaguely remember that.
Yeah.
Was he in it?
Yeah, I don't know if it was him.
It wasn't
somebody
him.
that looked like him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a parody of him writing Game of Thrones. And he was like, just ready to kill off any character at any time. It was funny.
Yeah, I have seen that. The more you talk about it, the more I think of it.
Funny. Spoilers for Game of Thrones, I guess, is in that video. It was season or 2 before the end of Game of Thrones. The person who made the video kept putting in Daenerys like she was on the chopping block. It's like, be very careful, she could die at any time.
Yeah.
Then season 8 comes along.
I just looked it up. They're talking about, he writes famously slow. He started Game of Thrones in 1991, so it's been nearly 30 years for us waiting for his conclusion. Because the book he's working right now is supposed to be the second to last, not the last.
Oh no.
And it's like, it took Martin 6 years to write A Dance with Dragons, so it should take about 3 years for this one to come out. They said in 2020.
Oh no.
So June 2020.
3 years ago.
No release date too. They put those release dates out like a year in advance as well, so...
That means still not out yet, not ready yet. But I mean, if they put them a year out in advance, for him, they have to double it.
Yeah.
I think this is like the pain that people who follow the author specifically go through. Because we follow the anime, which has lead time. It's got the light novel because it's drawing from all of the light novel, the manga, there's a web novel that goes through like 3 different iterations before it hits the screen or something. Yeah. So all of that time, we don't have to wait for those things to come out. But when the author is like throwing out a page, every now and again, like, oh my gosh, like what is it, Hunter x Hunter? The original. There was a series before the series we're watching, which got remade. So what we're watching is a remake, and it goes past what the old series went. And that was in, I believe that was in 2001. No, the series we're watching is 2011 based, and The old one was in the 90s. It was like over 10 years to get a remake, and then a little bit more. And we're still waiting for the rest of the story, by the way. It hasn't finished in the manga or anything.
And they have already talked about they're making the next... I don't remember, it's a continuation. It's continuation, right? What they're making?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the next season is what it was sold to me as.
Mm-hmm.
And I expect receipts.
I remember when I first watched, I think I watched it in 2014, Hunter x Hunter for the first time. And I was like, there's only like 2 more chapters out after what I just watched. After 4 years. But also because he was in poor health.
Right.
Yeah. And he's still in poor health. And you should see like somebody put like years of hiatus.
Yeah, I see
there's more hiatus than there was years of delivering the chapters. But yeah, it's like I'm just waiting on the next page. I can't follow authors. I need to binge.
Yeah, and I think that's the issue where you start looking for extra content comes in. Because a lot of times, like, it happens a lot with video game publishers. You see a game that is like, it hits exactly every single beat that you've been looking for. And so you go and you check out the developer page and you see what other games they've made. And see, they've made other games and they're also exactly what I've been looking for. And I want more. And so you start following the developer, and now they tweet like, hey, I have a couple ideas for a video game, and then months later it's like, yeah, so we started putting something together months later. Or we started putting a team together months later. We're funded months later, and it gets worse and worse and worse. And if you do that, it's like torture. Because now you waited for that game for like 7 years.
Yeah.
Whereas if you just a regular gamer and a trailer drops, like, oh, so this game will be out later this year.
Yeah. This game looks interesting. This looks cool.
Yeah. I guess that's the downside of social media these days, huh? Kind of puts you on a torture wheel.
Although I feel like that's how people used to follow things before, but it's there was less updates. I guess is like when the guy put the book out, the book was out. Yeah. Then you waited 7 years on radio silence and just to pray that he was not dead. You know?
That's what I'm saying. Like these days we have Twitter. Like Twitter expects daily to like hourly tweeting.
Yeah.
And like people are like glued to Twitter sometimes. Like I try getting into Twitter. It's not my cup of tea because I don't like little bite-sized chunks of air. You know what I mean? So. But because of that, like companies, they want to have a presence. They're like, we gotta tweet something and put. Biden tweets the most random things. I don't know why he's in my feed, but he's there. And like it's just to be there. And because of that, if you're actually invested in the person, you kind of like, oh my gosh, I got a morsel today. You know,
crumb from your table, sir.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, I stopped even wanting to look at game trailers. So what I watch now is I watch gameplay trailers. When the gameplay trailers are out, then it's like a year out. You're well on your way. When the game trailer comes out, minimum 2 years.
Yeah.
Minimum 2 years. And especially with Grand Theft Auto 5, I remember those people put out a trailer for every single system and thing you could do in this game for all of a year. And it was then finally at like an end of 18th video, 2 years from now. I was like, okay. 2 years later, guess what? I mean, I'm sure they said it earlier, I just didn't see it. But guess what? It's going to be Xbox, PlayStation exclusive, and on PC, it'll be out in 2 years. Crazy. It's crazy. Oh. And then ever since, like, PC was like a year behind in every update or DLC pack or whatever.
That's the total opposite for Sims.
Yeah?
Yeah, PC is first, and like console is always behind. But they've actually worked at making that better recently. Like I want to say a year ago, they started releasing at the same time. Yeah,
simulation style games.
I'm more PC based.
I feel like it is because there's more buttons, more things, more menus and stuff that
keyboard
you
shortcuts to use.
Whereas
and all that,
first person shooters and stuff, it's easier to play with a joystick.
True.
Not a joystick, you know what I mean. Playing Grand Theft Auto. Click, click, click. With one button on top.
So, I mean, I love Rockstar in that they always make a complete product and it's always a very detailed product, but man, do they take their time. So it's like, don't even tell me what you're doing. I don't want
just surprise me, okay?
Just when the release is actually there, throw it in my face like, we came out with this.
Yeah. Don't tell us when you're getting the cheese, just throw it on my face.
Yeah. I feel like a company is going to do that, and then everybody else is going to notice, wait, that works? And they're going to start doing it.
I think it was a game or a show or something that did that, and everyone was like, whoa, where did it come from? It was like a sequel to something. I can't remember what it was, but it was like, it's releasing next month.
Wow.
Everyone's like, what? Oh, I can't remember what it is, but it made a huge buzz. Because, like, how did this stay silent?
So long, yeah.
Yeah, it's rare for big games to do it, but it's happened a couple times for smaller games like PC Expo. I think that's what it was called. Where they'll say, hey, so this is a trailer for this game, it's really cool, you can buy it right now. As soon as this expo is done, it's up and you can just play it. So it's like, it's really cool to do that, but it's always like smaller games and they're very indie. So it's like, okay, if you're very into that mechanic, well then that's the game. It's like, this game is about just this. But if you're not, it's like, okay, I don't really care. So the very niche crowds will get away with that. Because those guys have been waiting. They're hungry. You don't need to have a trailer for this. They're waiting for the next one to come out.
Yeah. They're starving.
Yeah. But, anything else before we wrap up?
I think that's it for me.
All right. Well, guys, thank you guys for being here with another Reactcast. We enjoyed our time. I hope you did as well. Thank you very much for being here. If you liked the time here, please leave a like, subscribe if you want to see more, and leave a comment down below of what you thought of the episode. Thank you very much. See you soon. Goodbye.
Bye.